In this lesson, let's explore how to start a new Photoshop project. But first, you need to ask yourself, what am I designing for? This question is important because the first couple of settings on Photoshop determine your canvas size and overall quality. Perhaps in the same way that a traditional painter would visit a craft store and pick up a canvas. It's very likely that this person is shopping with clear intentions, as in they already had in mind how big of a canvas they want to paint on, and even perhaps where it will be displayed later. In our digital Photoshop environment, we need to know what we're designing for so that we can set the resolution and the DPI. The resolution is a way to define the width and the height of your digital canvas. In computer language, the resolution is defined by the number of pixels. However, this can be changed to other metric systems when needed. It's just that if you're designing for web purposes, such as social media or a website, you'll probably want to set up your canvas in pixels. And you may already be familiar with branded standards like HD or 4K. And these particular labels represent these pixel resolutions. Now, if you ask yourself that question again, what am I designing for? Then you'll think about finding a reference for your resolution size. For example, if you plan on creating an Instagram post, you can search on Google for Instagram post resolutions, followed by the current year. And you'll be able to find a guide that tells you which resolution works on this platform. The most common resolution for social media posts is currently 1080 by 1080 pixels, although this may change over time, which is why I advise you to search with the current year date so that you can always find the latest information. The second important factor in this initial setup window is the DPI. DPI stands for dots per inch. This setting indicates to a printer how densely dots of ink or toner are applied to a piece of paper within a 1-inch square. And in this illustration of how DPI works, we can understand it as a way for a printer to translate our digital accuracy to physical accuracy. But for strictly designing web graphics, 72 DPI is most likely all that you will need. It's lightweight and it looks great on digital screens like computers, laptops, and smartphones. However, if you're designing with the intention of printing your artwork, you'll definitely want to increase this number. You should use a minimum of 300 DPI or higher if specified by your printing company. And this ensures that when your artwork is printed, it will appear accurate and sharp. So, with that clear intention to design for print, you should also establish who your printing company will be before you actually start designing anything. Printing companies typically have an artwork requirements section on their website, which outlines the minimum expectation of your file format and the way that it should be set up, such as the resolution, DPI, and other factors. Obviously, you should do research and compare costs of printing at specific companies to determine which one can serve you best. But the overall lesson here is to visualize the outcome of your project, understand where it will be displayed, and then play by the rules of those particular standards. As Photoshop is a pixel-based raster graphics editor, it's important to define the largest scale that your artwork will be printed to avoid disappointment of having to upscale your artwork later. You see, upscaling is a process of enlarging pixels to fit a larger canvas. But if one was to stretch and increase a small piece of artwork, it could look blurry or pixelated, as this process cannot just magically create more pixels to make your artwork sharper. Now, with more AI tools on the market, this could change in the future by allowing the computer to interpret your art and then generate new information or even artificially sharpen objects on the canvas. However, just by following the traditional philosophy of design, my advice to you is to always know, or at least question, which print size you're designing for. Remember, you can always scale down without losing quality. But if you were to scale up from a low resolution image, you could be left disappointed. So, the final thing that we need to touch on is that this setup window has all of these different presets that we could choose from. And I would personally suggest that you ignore these presets and enter your setup information manually. And these are the 3 reasons why. First of all, the act of manual entry forces you to think about what your design actually needs from a resolution and DPI standpoint. Secondly, manual entry helps you to learn and memorize key sizes for different print formats. And this could serve you later when you're working with physical print items. And finally, manual entry just gives you full control. It's very unlikely that you end up with the wrong format if you're always paying attention to those numbers. Unlike with presets, where you could select something blindly and then risk your final design's outcome. Think of this entire process like being a craftsman. A good craftsman measures everything themselves, double-checks their work, and takes pride in getting the basics right. And so the same mindset applies here. When you take the time to set up your canvas properly, you're setting yourself up for success. And so, to sum everything up, when you start with intention and then start understanding the purpose of resolution and DPI, you will gradually develop the skill of precisely fitting your designs into existing frameworks. So that's all for this episode on starting a new project. But hey, are you ready for the next one?